bring to the net or have any questions, please come down. All right, let's see here. We've got the usual. Oh boy, got the audio working again. So Echolink, not Echolink, but the YouTube, the audio is working. So for those of you listening, you probably already know that. Okay, let's see. We do have the AMSAT Amateur Radio Satellite Group. There's 2 nets available in Dallas with Tuesday evenings at 8 p.m. We need Echolink installed and you registered. You can find the net under Groups and AMSAT. And also a live audio link is available on amsatnet.com that originates in Houston. The Dallas AMSAT Net East is also available on Dallas Fort Worth every Tuesday night at 8 p.m. on this repeater. At 8 p.m., Tom, N5HYP is net control. You're welcome to check in. First Tuesday of the month is DRC Club night, so there's no AMSAT East. If you do miss the East, you can go to West. Yes, we have one of those Wednesday evenings at 9 p.m. on the Arlington repeater. That's at 147.140 megahertz with a PL 110.9 with a positive offset. Now, just mention the nets very quickly. I think everybody knows these things, but Mondays at 7 o'clock, we have alternating nets every week, different net every week. The first week is Ham Fixin's net, where we talk about food and recipes. Second week is MCOM 101, where we talk about emergency communications, served agencies. Third week is the second helping of Ham Fixins. Fourth week is GeekNet. We expand a little bit beyond amateur radio, but it's always close by. We talk about any and everything to bring your problems and your solutions to GeekNet. And then when there's a fifth Monday, we have a surprise net. We told you what it is. It wouldn't be a surprise. Friday evenings is the Certain City Simulation. Trained amateur radio operators are on that one. Melissa, KI5 GRH, is usually the net control. At least she masterminds these. Visit the most disaster-prone city in the universe every Friday night, Certain City. Saturdays is the night of nets. We have TechNet from 7 to 8. You missed that one, or maybe you didn't. But we'll talk about all things amateur radio. We also have, of course, Skynet, which you're listening to right now, and then the Afterglow Movie Net, which I'm going to tell you about here in a little bit. On the first and third Sundays, the Dallas Amateur Radio Club meeting on the air, or MODA, it's an information net. Find out about the club that maintains this repeater. And then daily at 6:30 every night, 7 days a week, is the National Traffic System Training Net. If you're interested in how to be a part of a organized formal net, that's the one, but it's a training net, so you can do no wrong. Yay. And let's see here. Boy, I hope I've got the right one open here, because I see, let me see here. I have to open this up real quick, because my info isn't here, and I'm pretty sure I put it in, so I'm wondering if I got the right copy of this thing open here for Afterglow. Let me look, and I'll tell you what it says, though. Tonight's movie, highly accurate as it is as follows. This description. Over so I can see it. Dr. Mitchell looked around the cocktail bar and noticed everyone in white coats drinking martinis. He was at the annual Space Doctor Convention. There was Crenshaw making moves on his wife. Meanwhile, Lisa Frank was adding up the probability she could lure Mitchell away from the cocktail party. She was a mathematician and could calculate her odds on scoring Mitchell. At some point, Crenshaw and Vanessa showed up murdered, or as they said in the movie, murdered, inside a rocket fuel tank, or so we think. Join us for this highly improbable British science fiction movie, barely science fiction, called Spaceways from 1953. We'll be discussing and dissecting this fine film just like an alien in Area 51. Okay, Let's see, what else have we got? Oh, we're going to move on to Texas Astronomical Society of Dallas events. Where and when you can look through a telescope. That would be Chaz. Uh-oh. You know what? I did not bring up, I've got some work to do. I missed something. Oh, go ahead, Chaz. Tell us about the thing. I got to bring your slides up for your presentation. I don't have them up yet. So you do that, and I'll do my thing. KF5JHA from KE5ICX.
Thank you, Tom. I'm not even supposed to be here. I was supposed to be at Copper Break State Park, but the park is closed because there's a wildfire that's not too far away, and they closed the park, I think, Wednesday evening, and it's been closed and probably will continue to be closed for a while because the wildfire has increased in size and is less contained than it was yesterday at this time. Okay, I'm sorry. Let's get back to the Texas. I'm sort of putting in some time here so Tom can get things squared away. The next Texas Astronomical Society of Dallas Club meeting will be held on Friday, August the 25th. The meeting will be held at 7:30 p.m. in person at the University of Texas at Dallas and also held on Zoom. The featured speaker will be Dr. Mohammed Melania from the University of Houston, and his topic is about astrobiology. Saturday night public observing stations have begun again. Skynet was picked to be on Saturday night so that there could be an opportunity for live reports from the Texas Astronomical Society of Dallas public observing sessions. So, this is the second Saturday. Second Saturday is held. Frisco is on radio to get in here, but is there anyone at the Frisco Star Party that would like to make a transmission to Skynet tonight? Come down with your call sign if you'd like to. I didn't think there would be. All right. So, if you'd like to get more information about the Texas Astronomical Society, go to their website, texasastro.org, for up-to-date information about the meetings and public observing stations. And this is Kilo Foxtrot 5, Juliet Hotel Alpha, Chaz. Yes, I'm on planet Earth, but I'm not at Copper Break State Park. Back to you, Net Control, KE5ICX. Did I give you enough time?
Why, yes, Chaz, I was able to get your slides up and ready while you were doing that, and to get the right script, because apparently I had the wrong script up as well. So, yeah, it's situation normal here, but we look forward to your presentation this evening. Okay, this is KE5ICX Net Control for tonight's Skynet. So, now, we move on to National Space Society events and activities. That would be Bill, N5BB, and I'm pretty sure he checked in. Yes, he's number 7 on my list. Bill, what do you have for us for the National Space Society for this evening from KE5ICX?
Well, thank you, Tom. Yes, I feel rotten this evening, but I did check in. This is N5BB. I happen to be the membership coordinator and the member-at-large, actually the membership director and the member-at-large for the North Texas chapter of the National Space Society. If you have any questions about the National Space Society or a local chapter, please send me an email at space@byrom.net. That's SPACE at BYROM.net. The National Space Society has a monthly meeting on the second Sunday afternoon of each month. That means our meeting is tomorrow afternoon. The meeting starts at 3:30 p.m. with a presentation at 4 p.m. at Spring Creek Barbecue in Irving, which is at the southwest corner of Highway 183 and Beltline, a couple of miles east of the south entrance of DFW Airport. And visitors are invited to come by. We also have a WebEx, a virtual way that you can do that. We do a hybrid meeting. So if you send me an email, I can send you a sign-up list so you can sign up to get the WebEx login credentials for that virtual meeting. You might say, what's the meeting going to be about? Well, our presentation is by two hams. Cynthia, N5TFB, and Dietrich, KI5L, Wismont, who used to live here in the central part of the DFW area, but they now live way the heck up northeast, way past Greenville, nearly all the way to Sulphur Springs out there. So they're way off out that way, to east of here. And so they're going to be giving the presentation virtually. They come to some of the meetings, but in this case, they're going to do it virtually. Again, it's going to be about the sun, the moon, and Mars, like exploration of those bodies in our solar system. National Space Society North Texas chapter also has some upcoming activities. We had an activity today, which I could not be at because that was another organization's activity, and it was at it was a space exhibit at the Garland City Hall. But it's coming back. Well, in fact, it's going to be there, but we're going to be back again at this exhibit on September the 2nd, Saturday, which is the last day of the exhibit. This is a NASA traveling exhibit. It's got artifacts in it. It's really pretty cool. It talks about the early space program, manned space program up through Apollo, and it has specific things in it about Garland and other nearby cities that contributed important pieces to the Apollo program, and for that matter, Gemini and Mercury. So it's really pretty neat. So the space exhibit at the Garland City Hall is going to be, the last day of it is September the 2nd, Saturday. And we're going to be there from 10 to 4. That's when it's open. 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. Location inside BB. This is the Garland City Hall, 200 North 5th Street, Garland 75040. And you can't miss it. You go right in the front door, and it's right there next to the security guard. So that's what's going on with Garland with the NASA traveling exhibit about early human spacecraft flight. Also, there is a space day at the Fort Worth Museum of Science and History on Gendy Street, 1600 Gendy, Gendy Street. This is over in the Museum District in Fort Worth, West Fort Worth, a couple blocks from the Amon Carter Museum and all that kind of good stuff. And so we're going to be there at Space Day, our National Space Society group. This will be on Saturday, August the 26th. That's 2 weeks from today, from, again, 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. So, things going on with the local chapter of National Space Society, including our talk tomorrow. Again, if you want to reach me, use the other email address I sent earlier, or N5BB, that's November 5 Bravo Bravo, at ARRL.net. Thank you, Tom. This is N5BB.
Thank you, Bill. And, got a couple of more people here. Let me write these down and I'll tell you who they are. Kenny. All right, we got two other check-ins via digital means. We have KB8DAA, Catherine and Addison, and KI5QAX. That's Luis in McKinney. I think I got everybody. Anybody else like to check in, please come with your call. Your name, where you're transmitting from.
Kilo India 5, Uniform Juliet, Dustin, in Dallas.
Kilo Bravo 9, Sierra Oscar Kilo, Sean, Fort Worth.
Very good. Picked up two more. KI5UUJ, that's Dustin over in Dallas. I got KB9SOK, Sean in Fort Worth. All right, well, let's see here. Let me get this thing set up here. So as net control, I get to pick the topics. And maybe that's a good thing, maybe it's not a good thing, I don't know. But I'm here and I get to do it, so I'm a fan of manned space stuff, so I was looking and thought, you know what, we haven't heard anything about the Dream Chaser, which is the space plane, the successor, well, one of the successors to the space shuttle that is winged, and this one is called Dream Chaser, so I thought I'd bring you up to date on what we know. So I stole some stuff from Wikipedia, so if this sounds like Wikipedia, it is. So let me go ahead. And if you're following along on YouTube, you can also see a picture, well, a drawing or an artist's rendering of what it would look like while it's in space. Dream Chaser is an American reusable lifting body space plane being developed by Sierra Space. Originally intended as a crewed vehicle, the Dream Chaser space system is set to be produced after the cargo variant, Dream Chaser Cargo System, is operational. The crewed variant is planned to carry up to 7 people and cargo to and from low Earth orbit. The Cargo Dream Chaser is designed to resupply the International Space Station with both pressurized and unpressurized cargo. It is intended to launch vertically on the Vulcan Centaur rocket and autonomously land horizontally on conventional runways. A proposed version to be operated by ESA was launched on the Ariane space vehicle. The Dream Chaser design is derived from NASA's HL-20 Personal Launch System spaceplane concept, which in turn is descended from a series of test vehicles, including the X-20 Dinosaur, which I remember as a kid. That was pretty cool. Northrop M2F2, that was that thing that Steve Austin kind of got messed up in. And the Northrop M2F3, the Northrop HL-10, Martin X-24A and 24, actually I think that's the one I was thinking of, 24A and 24B, and the Martin X-23. In other words, very similar designs in all cases with a swept delta wing that also kind of sweeps up a little bit like a, a little Thunderbird type of thing. On orbit, some other details. On-orbit propulsion of the Dream Chaser was originally proposed to be provided by twin hybrid rocket engines capable of repeated starts and throttling. At the time, SNC Space Systems was also developing a similar hybrid rocket for Virgin Galactic Spaceship Two. In May 2014, SNC involvement in the Spaceship Two program ended. After the acquisition of Orbitech LLC in July of 2014, Sierra Nevada Corporation announced a major change to the propulsion system. A hybrid rocket engine design was dropped in favor of the clusters of Orbitech's Vortex engines. The new engines would use propane and nitrous oxide as propellant. Now it also uses a thermal protection system, or TPS. It's made up of silica-based tiles for most of the belly and the upper portion of the heat shield, and a new composite material called toughened, uni-piece, fibrous, reusable, oxidation-resistant ceramic, or TUFROC. Yeah, I can't make that up, to cover the nose and the leading edges. The originally planned Dream Chaser space system is a human-rated version designed to carry from 3 to 7 people and cargo to orbital destinations such as the International Space Station. It was to have been built-in launch escape. It was to have a built-in launch escape system and could fly autonomously if needed. Although it could use any suitable launch vehicle, it was planned to be launched on a human-rated Atlas V and 12 rocket. The vehicle will be able to return from space by gliding, typically experiencing less than 1.5 G on re-entry and landing at any airport runway that handles commercial air traffic. Its reaction control system thrusters burns ethanol-based fuel, which is not explosively volatile nor toxic like hydrazine, allowing the Dream Chaser to be handled immediately after landing, unlike the Space Shuttle. As of 2020, Sierra Nevada Corporation says it still plans to produce the crewed version of the spacecraft within the next 5 years. The company says it never stopped working on the crewed version and fully intends to launch it after the cargo version, and is still committed to the crewed version as of 2021. In November of 2021, Sierra Nevada Corporation reported that it received a $1.4 billion investment from Series A funding, which it will use to develop a crewed version of this Dream Chaser and fly astronauts by 2025. On October 25, 2021, Blue Origin and Sierra Nevada Corporation's Sierra Space subsidiary for commercial space activities and space tourism released their plans for a commercial space station. The station, called Orbital Reef, is intended as a mixed-use business park. Sierra Nevada Corporation's Dream Chaser was chosen as one of the commercial spacecraft to transport commercial crew to and from the space station, along with Boeing's Starliner. The cargo version of the SNC Dream Chaser is called Dream Chaser Cargo Systems, or DCCS, and after development is completed, planned in early 2024, will fly resupply flights to the ISS under NASA's Commercial Resupply Services 2 program. Featuring an expendable cargo module mounting solar panels, the spacecraft will be capable of returning to Earth while undergoing maximum re-entry forces of 1.5 Gs. To meet CRS-2 guidelines, the cargo Dream Chaser will have folding wings and fit within a 5-meter diameter payload fairing, in contrast with the crew Dream Chaser, which is intended to launch without a fairing. The ability to fit into this cargo fairing allows the cargo version to launch on any sufficiently capable vehicle, such as the Ariane 5, which was just recently retired, so good luck with that, as well as the Atlas 5. An expendable cargo module will launch attached to the back of the spacecraft, expanding the cargo uplift capability or capacity and supporting disposal up to 7,170 pounds of trash. Total uplift is planned at 11,000 pounds pressurized and 1,100 pounds unpressurized, with a downlift of 3,850 pounds contained within the spaceplane. The expendable cargo module is called Shooting Star. On August 14, 2019, it was announced that all 6 Dream Chaser CRS-2 flights will be carried into orbit by ULA's Vulcan launch vehicle, and will be the first Dream Chaser flight being the second Vulcan flight in late 2021. However, wow, that's old info, isn't it? However, on February 9, 2022, Ken Shields, Sierra Space Director of Commercial Market Development, announced that the first flight would be pushed to January 2023. Oops. The launch has been further delayed, and as of June 2023 is scheduled for early 2024. On November 19, 2021, Sierra Space announced it is considering a third Dream Chaser version specialized for national security missions, though it declined to comment on what the differences compared with the other versions would be. In 2019, it was announced that an expendable Shooting Star cargo module will be part of the Dream Chaser cargo system for CRS-2 flights. The module is 15 feet long, attached to the Dream Chaser, that would allow the spacecraft to carry an additional 10,000 pounds of pressurized and unpressurized cargo. The module supports the disposal of unwanted cargo by burning up upon re-entry. In addition to carrying cargo, the Shooting Star module includes solar panels that supply up to 6 kilowatts of electrical power. It also supplies active and passive thermal management, provides Dream Chaser translation and rotation capability via 6-mounted thrusters, and supports berthing or docking in different configurations to the ISS. Access from ISS Dream Chaser will involve crew passing through Shooting Star, which supports a church-lead environment, and through the hatch that separates Shooting Star from Dream Chaser Dream Chaser. Sierra Nevada says the module is capable of additional types of missions in low Earth orbit or to CIS lunar missions. they have developed a free-flying variant with additional capabilities. In July 2020, Sierra Nevada announced a contract with the Defense Innovation Unit, or DIU, to use the Shooting Star expendable cargo vehicle as a possible commercial solution for its high-powered, uncrewed orbital outpost. And then finally, on June 1st, 2023, Sierra Space Dream Chaser took a step closer to its long-awaited first flight by powering up its systems in a key test. The company announced May 31st that it had powered up the space plane in its assembly facility for the first time, feeding electrical power into the vehicle that, in space, would be generated by solar panels and turning on flight computers and other components. This is a milestone that points to the future and is a key moment in the long journey for Space Chaser, said Tom Weiss, Chief Executive of Sierra Space, in a statement about the test. The test comes as the company prepares to launch the first Dream Chaser, called Tenacity, to NASA's Neil Armstrong Test Facility in Ohio, the former Plum Brook Station. There, the spacecraft will go through thermal vacuum tests before shipping to Cape Canaveral for final launch preparation. Sierra Space did not disclose the schedule for those milestones in an announcement of the powering up test. Speaking during the panel at the 38th Space Symposium in April, Janet Kavandi, president of Sierra Space, said Dream Chaser would ship to the test facility in the July timeframe. She said the vehicle will be tested there for a few months before shipping to Florida. We should be ready to go by the end of this year, she said, the launch plans for the Dream Chaser. So there you have it. That's what I got on the space plane. I hadn't heard anything on it for a while, so I thought that was kind of interesting. Does anybody have any questions or have any comments? Please come to your call. All right, well, we are now ready for What's Up, and that would be Chaz, who has returned from the abyss, and he's going to give our presentation this evening on What's Up, because he's usually the guy. So, Chaz, you may want to put your name and call sign into your script. If you say anything else, it would be embarrassing. So, go ahead, Chaz, K5JJ from KE5ICX.
Oh, I want to say this is my name and my call sign. Thank you, Tom. I appreciate it. Slide number 1. We do call this segment of Skynet What Is Up because, well, it's what's up going on astronomically over the next couple of weeks. Slide master, slide number 2. The third quarter moon was on August the 8th, just a few days ago. So the current phase of the moon is a waning crescent. Excellent meteor shower observing weather. On August 16th is the new moon's phase. Also on August 16th, the moon is at apogee, which is the point in the moon's orbit that's furthest from the Earth at a distance of 406,634 kilometers. On August the 24th is the first quarter phase of the moon. On August the 30th, the moon is at perigee, which is the point in the moon's orbit that is closest to the Earth at a distance of 357,181 kilometers. And on August 30th is the second full moon in the month of August. This is often called a blue moon. A blue moon only happens about every 3 years. The last blue moon was on October 31st, the year 2020. And if you've got a full moon on Halloween, it's always going to be a blue moon, because the first full moon in October would have been at the first of the month, or second or third. This is KF5JHA. Slide master, slide number 3, please. I've already mentioned it, the actual night tonight, and maybe last night, is the night of the Perseid meteor shower. It's an annual shower. The Perseid meteor shower can have over 100 meteors per hour at its peak. Of course, this number of meteors is if you're far away from the city lights, which I wasn't very much planning on doing. And the hour just before twilight is oftentimes the best time because that's the side of the Earth that's running into the swarm of debris left over by Comet Swift-Tuttle. To get more detailed information about how to observe meteors and meteor showers, you can visit the International Meteor Organization at IMO.net or the American Meteor Society at amsmeteors.org. Okay, let's see now. Slide Master, slide number 4, please. August the 18th is the conjunction of the Moon and Mars in the very low western evening sky during the evening twilight. Probably need a pair of binoculars to observe them. That's probably going to be the best way of doing that. Slide Master, slide number 5, please. On August 28th in the early morning eastern sky, the asteroid Vesta and the Crab Nebula, also known as M1, will only be about 2 degrees apart from each other. Now, a pair of binoculars will be required to observe both. Inside the city, it will be difficult to see the Crab Nebula, but with a good finder map and computer software, you should be able to find Vesta with just a pair of binoculars even inside the city, because I've observed Vesta inside the city before with just binoculars. Slide Master, slide number 6. At the beginning of August, and now at the end of August, on August the 30th, the Moon and Saturn can be found in conjunction in the southern sky just after midnight. Remember that August 30th is also the blue moon. Don't forget that. Slide Master, slide number 7. Remember that we have 2 solar eclipses coming up very soon. A solar eclipse is when the moon is in between the Earth and the sun, and for at least a few lucky people on the Earth, the moon blocks some, if not all, of the sun from our field of view. Slide Master, slide number 8. The October 14th eclipse is a partial annular solar eclipse for us here in North Texas, but along a path in West Texas and into New Mexico, there's a path where the moon will block out all but just a little ring, or we call it an annulus, of sunlight from our view. The eclipse begins around 10:30 in the morning, and the middle of the eclipse is at 11:52 a.m. when about 81% of the sun is covered. That's the middle of the eclipse. That's the maximum of the eclipse. The eclipse ends by 1:29 p.m. Those times are for Brookhaven campus of Dallas College, because that's where I work. Slide Master, slide number 9. On August, I wanted to say August for some reason. On April the 8th, 2024, is the total solar eclipse for us here in North Texas. Now, from Brookhaven campus, the sun will be completely blocked out for about 3 minutes and 20 seconds between 1:41 and 1:44 p.m. During that time, we call it totality, you'll be able to see stars in the sky just like it were evening twilight. Won't get completely dark, but you'll be able to see the stars. The next total solar eclipse visible from North Texas will be on July the 9th in the year 2317. So this total solar eclipse is a very big deal, since it will only happen about once every 300 years in North Texas. And this is KF5JHA, and this is Skynet. Slide Master, slide number 10, please. Sorry, my script flipped to another page. I had to get back to it. So once again, the next Texas Astronomical Society of Dallas Club meeting is held on Friday, August the 25th. The meeting will be held at 7:30 p.m. in person at the University of Texas, Dallas, and also held on Zoom. Saturday night public observing sessions have begun again, and Skynet was picked to be on Saturday night, so there'd be an opportunity for live reports from the TAS public observing sessions. But I don't think there's anyone on Skynet that's at the Frisco Star Party tonight. So check the TAS website, texasastro.org, for up-to-date information and details about meetings and public observing sessions. Now, Slide Master, slide number 11. Do any of you out there in Radio Land have a question? Or do you have a need for a fill? Or do you just have a general question about astronomy? Come down with your call sign if you have a question or need a fill. I'm not hearing anything. Slide Master, slide number 12. So as the moon is waning, so do these words for this segment of Skynet. Stay safe, keep well, pray for our world. That's the only one where humans live. And until next time, actually, I'll be doing another segment on Skynet in a few minutes. Keep looking up so you know what's up. And this is KF5JHA, back to our net control. Tom, KE5ICX, it's all yours once again. Maybe I gave your voice a rest.
Thank you, Chaz. Yeah, I'm going to lose it tonight, so I'm hoping somebody can do afterglow for me because I'm getting voice is starting to go. Okay, next up is space exploration and space history. We usually have a tag team here. Brenda, WB50ZL, does it 1 week, and Kelly does it the following. K5KTX does it the following week. Well, it is Kelly's turn this week. So, Kelly, K5KTX, what do you have for us for space exploration and space history?
Thank you, Tom. This is K5KTX, and good evening, everyone. Well, scientists have made the most precise measurements ever of Mars's rotation, for the first time detecting how the planet wobbles due to the sloshing of its molten metal core. The findings, detailed in a recent Nature paper, rely on data from NASA's InSight Mars lander, which operated for 4 years before running out of power during its extended mission in December of 2022. To track the planet's spin rate, the study's authors relied on one of InSight's instruments, a radio transponder and antennas collectively called the Rotation and Interior Structure Experiment, or RISE. They found the planet's rotation is accelerating by about 4 milliarc seconds per year, corresponding to a shortening of the length of the Martian day by a fraction of a millisecond per year. It's a subtle acceleration, and scientists aren't entirely sure of the cause. But they have a few ideas, including ice accumulating on the polar caps or post-glacial rebounds where land masses rise after being buried by ice. The shift in a planet's mass can cause it to accelerate a bit, like an ice skater spinning with their arms stretched out, then pulling their arms in. This is part of a long tradition of Mars landers using radio waves for science, including the twin Viking landers in the 1970s and the Pathfinder lander in the late 90s. But none of those missions had the advantage of InSight's advanced radio technology and upgrades to the antennas within NASA's Deep Space Network on Earth. Together, these enhancements provided data about 5 times more accurate than what was available for the Viking landers. In the case of InSight, scientists would beam a radio signal to the lander using the Deep Space Network. To receive the reflected signal, they would look for tiny changes in frequency caused by the Doppler shift. Measuring the shift enabled researchers to determine how fast the planet rotates. The paper examined data from InSight's first 900 Martian days, enough time to look for such variations. Scientists had their work cut out for them to eliminate sources of noise. Water slows radio signals, so moisture in the Earth's atmosphere can distort the signal coming back from Mars. So can the solar wind, the electrons and protons flung into deep space from the sun. RISE data was also used by the study authors to measure Mars's wobble, called its nutation, due to sloshing in its liquid core. The measurement allows scientists to determine the size of the core. Based on RISE data, the core has a radius of roughly 1,140 miles. The authors then compared that figure with 2 previous measurements of the core derived from the spacecraft's seismometer. Specifically, they looked at how seismic waves travel through the planet's interior, whether they reflected off the core or passed through it unimpeded. Taking all 3 measurements into account, they estimate the core's radius to be between 1,112 and 1,150 miles. Mars as a whole has a radius of 2,106 miles, about half the size of Earth. Measuring Mars's wobble also provided details about the shape of the core. RISE's data indicate the core's shape cannot be explained by its rotation alone. That shape requires regions of slightly higher or lower density buried deep within the mantle. While the InSight mission is over, scientists will be mining InSight data for years to come. Moving on to space history for this past week, starting with August the 6th, 2012. I remember this so well. 11 years ago, last Sunday, NASA's Mars rover Curiosity made one of the most dramatic and harrowing landings in the history of space exploration. In the very early morning of August the 6th, 2012, Central Daylight Time, a rocket-powered sky crane lowered the car-sized Curiosity onto Mars's red dirt using cables, then flew off and crash-landed intentionally a safe distance away. Curiosity team members had modeled this novel technique repeatedly using computers, but it had never been tested fully here on Earth, let alone employed on the surface of another world. Still, everything worked perfectly at crunch time, and Curiosity soon began exploring the interior of Mars's 96-mile-wide Gale crater. The discoveries came fast. The rover found that the area near its landing site harbored a lake and stream system long ago, showing that at least some parts of the red planet could have supported microbial life in the ancient past. The main goal of the Curiosity mission is to answer that very question. By the way, Adam Stelzner, the entry, descent, and landing lead for Curiosity, was the chief engineer for the Mars 2020 rover Perseverance. August the 8th, back in 2001, NASA's Genesis probe launched from Cape Canaveral. Its goal was to collect a sample of the solar wind from beyond the orbit and return it back to Earth for further study. While in space, the craft pointed its detectors toward the sun, where the particles of the solar wind became embedded. After 850 days of collection, the spacecraft returned to Earth. The sample return capsule was meant to be retrieved in mid-air. However, the parachute designed to slow the capsule failed, and the spacecraft crashed into the Utah desert at 193 miles per hour on September the 8th, 2004. While some of the sample collectors were contaminated by the crash, many were recovered and analyzed, increasing further our knowledge of solar wind. August the 10th, back in 1966, the Lunar Orbiter 1 spacecraft launched. It was designed to photograph smooth areas of the moon's surface to help select and verify safe landing sites for the Surveyor and Apollo missions. One of the 3 robotic precursor programs for the Apollo lunar landing effort, Lunar Orbiter, was the most successful. 5 Lunar Orbiter missions were launched, and all of them were successful. The historic mission took the first Earthrise picture, snapped the first close-up photos of the moon, and photographed over 5 million square kilometers of the moon's surface. By the end of the Lunar Orbiter program, 99% of the moon's surface, both near and far side, had been photographed and with resolution down to 1 meter. August 11th, way back in 1877, astronomers in the 19th century were certain that Mars had no moon. Asaph Hall, an astronomer at the U.S. Naval Observatory in Washington, D.C., was not convinced. In August of 1877, he began his search. After a few failures and cloudy nights, however, he was on the verge of giving up. Encouraged by his wife, he decided to give it one more try. So on the night of August the 11th, 1877, he turned the U.S. Naval Observatory's 26-inch refractor telescope towards the sky again. Early in the morning, at a roughly 2:30, he spotted a faint, suspicious object near Mars. Due to the cloudy skies and poor atmospheric conditions, the astronomer did not have a chance to confirm this sighting until a few days later. On the night of August 17th, as he looked eagerly to the skies, waiting for the reappearance of the moon of Mars, he noticed a second suspicious object. After confirmation from his peers, Hall announced the discovery of 2 moons of Mars. Paul, following a suggestion made by an English chemist named Henry Maiden, named the two moons Phobos, meaning fear, and Deimos, meaning panic, the attendants of the god Mars, as mentioned in Homer's Iliad. And then on this date, August the 12th, 1977, Enterprise, the space shuttle prototype, made its first free flight at NASA's Armstrong Flight Research Center. 65,000 visitors were in attendance as Enterprise, piloted by Fred Hayes and Gordon Fullerton, separated from the Boeing 747 carrier and glided to a successful landing. And then back in 2005, the NASA's Mars Reconnaissance Orbiter, or MRO, lifted off from pad SLC-41 at Cape Canaveral Air Force Station. This was the first time that a United Launch Alliance Atlas V had been used for a planetary mission. The spacecraft arrived at Mars the next spring, March of 2006, and joined three other orbiters, the Mars Global Surveyor, Mars Odyssey, and ESA's Mars Express, and two rovers on the surface, Spirit and Opportunity. After almost 17 and a half years in orbit, MRO is still collecting data with its instruments and serving as a communication relay for other craft. We had a few astronauts who were celebrating birthdays this past week, starting with August the 6th, 1950. Happy birthday to Winston Scott, who was on Space Shuttle missions STS-72 and 87. Also on August the 6th, 1962, Gregory Chamitoff, who was part of Space Shuttle missions STS-124 and 126 as part of Expedition 1718, and also on STS-134. On August the 7th, 1956, Kent Rominger, Space Shuttle missions STS-73, 80, 85, 96, and 100. Also on August the 7th, 1962, Jose Hernandez, who is a ham radio operator, by the way, KE5DAV. He was on Space Shuttle mission STS-128. Finally, August the 11th, 1961, Frederick C.J. Serko, who was part of Space Shuttle missions STS-88, 105, 117, 128, and then he became a pilot on the Virgin Galactic Spaceship 2 VSS Unity. On August the 12th, 1951, Charles Brady Jr., who was also a ham radio operator in 4BQW, he was on Space Shuttle mission STS-78. And that's all I've got this evening. Back to you, Tom. This is K5KTX.
This is KE5ICX, net control for tonight's Skynet. I'll take additional check-ins before we move to the next section of the net. If you'd like to join us, please come with your call sign phonetically, your name, where you're transmitting from.
This is Kilo Golf 5 Whiskey Victor Lima, James from Carrollton.
Okay, we picked up one more. We got KG5WVL, James in Carrollton, another one of our usual suspects. All right, next up is Chaz again with Miss Carolyn's Constellation of the Week. So Chaz, KF5JJ, go ahead with your next presentation, please.
Thank you, Tom. You're also the slide master, so slide number 13, please. Miss Carolyn's Constellation of the Week is named in honor of Silent Key, Carolyn, KC5OZT. Carolyn contributed to Skynet each week, almost from its beginning in 2012 until May of 2019, with a detailed look at one particular constellation each week. Since there are about 52 easily visible constellations seen in North Texas throughout the year out of the 80 total number of constellations, so Miss Carolyn covered the entire sky as seen over North Texas in a year. In her honor, we've continued that tradition of a constellation per week and named this segment after her. Miss Carolyn's constellation of the week this week is Lyra, the harp. Now, Lyra represents a small hand harp. You might see angels holding those. They're called a lyre. That's what it's called. So Lyra is a lyre. If you have seen one of those pictures, oh, I already said that. If I harp on this too much, then you can just call me a liar. Okay, that was my first joke. Slide Master, slide number 14. This is what everyone's been waiting for, is really the real jokes for the week. Here we go. So why are harps and elderly parents the same? Both are unforgiving and hard to get in and out of cars. How long does the harp stay in tune? About 20 minutes, or until somebody opens the door. You know, the change in temperature can actually get it out of tune really quickly. Married, just like playing a harp. Fill in the rest. What do you think? It looks easy until you try it. What do you call a cow that plays the harp? A musician. Okay, that was a stretch, but I thought it was funny. What do you call a successful harpist? A harpist with a spouse that has two jobs. So, that was the last harp joke for tonight. Well, wait, I was just stringing you along. This is KFI-JHA and this is Skynet. Slide Master, get me out of this. Slide number 15, please. There are several interesting stars in Lyra. Vega is the 5th brightest star in the sky. Other interesting stars in Lyra include Shellac, Zeta Lyra, and Epsilon Lyra. Epsilon Lyra is the famous double-double star, which has two pairs of stars. We'll concentrate on other objects in Lyra, though, instead. So, slide number 16, please. M56 is a globular star cluster that gets overlooked by many amateur astronomers. It is an easy target for binoculars as well as telescopes. It was discovered by Charles Messier himself on January the 19th, 1779. In a pair of 20 by 80 binoculars, that's what I have, I can see it as a faint fuzzball. An 8-inch or larger telescope at 100 power will resolve some of the outer stars in the cluster. If sky conditions permit, use 200 magnification, and then it allows you to resolve clear to the inner stars of the cluster. Remember that globular star clusters are old, formed at the same time as our galaxy, and they have roughly all the same size stars, all about one solar mass in size. Slide Master, slide number 17, please. M57 is the famous ring nebula. It's a planetary nebula. Planetary nebulas have nothing to do with planets, but probably got their names from being mostly round in shape, just like a planet in the telescope. Planetary nebulas are formed at the end of a stellar lifetime of a red giant star. The red giant swells and loses its outer layer, which becomes the round planetary nebula. What is left behind is a faint white dwarf, I should say, at the center of the galaxy, center of the nebula, M57 can be found in a 3-inch telescope, but historically 6-inch or larger telescopes usually has been needed to be able to see it. Now, again, using my 20 by 80 binoculars, I can see M57, but it just looks like a dot of light. Slide Master, slide number 18, please. Now, the white dwarf central star is difficult to see in M57. It requires quality optics, high magnification, dark skies, and steady seeing, making it a very challenging object. At a minimum, a 12-inch telescope is required, though some have seen it in a 9 or 10-inch telescopes with exceptional quality. At the 2018 Texas Star Party, a group of past members, me included, observed the Ring Nebula along with a number of other objects using a 36-inch telescope at McDonnell Observatory. Using that instrument, we observed the central star of M57 without any problem at all. Slide Master, slide number 19. At the 2019 Texas Star Party, the McDonnell Observatory made the historic 82-inch Otto Struve telescope available for those of us signed up for a couple of special viewing nights. Dennis Harwell and myself signed up for a Saturday morning session and went from 2 a.m. to 6:30 a.m. One of the objects we observed was M57, and I was happy to report that the 82 inches aperture of the central star of M57 was very easy to see and not a challenge at all. Slide Master, slide number 20, please. IC1296 is a barred spiral galaxy lying just 5 arc minutes northwest of M57. Discovered by famous astronomer E.E. Bernard, Bernard, this 15th magnitude galaxy was mentioned by the late Walter Scott Houston, author of the Deep Sky Wonders column in Sky and Telescope. Fortunately, due to its proximity to M57, I got to see IC1296 during the special viewing night on the 82-inch telescope during the 2019 Texas Star Party. Just like it did with the central star at M57, the 82-inch changed IC1296 from a challenge object into a very easy object. And this is KF5, JHA, and this is Skynet. Slide Master, slide number 21, please. There are a lot more Astronomical League observing program objects in the constellation of Lyra the Harp. I've just given you a sampling of a few of those objects. The Astronomical League has, at last count, 77 different observing programs, most of which have around 100 objects. Now, if you observe just 10 objects in an observing program each month, then you can earn an observing certificate and a pen in about a year. Slide Master, slide number 22. And that is Miss Carolyn's Constellation of the Week, Lyra the Harp. And I want to thank my friends Dave Hutchinson and Dennis Harwell for the research and words on deep sky objects that I've used and borrowed and I steal for every Skynet. Also, at times use the website constellation-guide.com for information. Now, next week, I will take a look at Scutum the Shield and Corona Austrina, the Southern Crown. And I'm going to go see if I can check what's going on with my mouth. It's just not quite working tonight. And this is KF5 JJ, singing the backdoor net control. 73, everyone. KE5 ICX. I hope your tongue works better than me, Tom.
Well, thank you, Chaz, and thank you for the presentations this evening. Now, I've had my share of problems this evening. I had audio issues, I had the wrong script up, a couple other things went kind of sideways. That seems to be working for now, so all of the bad luck I pushed your way. Okay, let's see. Speaking of, this is KE5ICX. My name's Tom. I am your net control for tonight's Skynet. Next up is space launches for the week. Let's see here. What do we have? We do have coming up to be determined electron launch. This will be from Launch Complex 1 in Mahia Peninsula in New Zealand. A Rocket Lab electron rocket is set to launch the first of the Capella Space Next Generation Synthetic Aperture Radar, SAR, Earth imaging satellites called Acadia. This will be the first launch of these 4 new satellites. The mission is dubbed We Love the Nightlife, since the SAR satellites allow for high-resolution imagery at night. The mission will launch from a Rocket Lab's Launch Complex LC-1 in Mahia Peninsula. Next up, August 23rd, we have a Progress 85P launch from Baikonur Cosmodrome in Kazakhstan. The Russian government Soyuz rocket will launch the 85th Progress cargo delivery ship to the International Space Station. The rocket will fly in the Soyuz 2.1A configuration. On August 4th, that's an update. On August 25th, we will have a Falcon 9 crewed launch with 7. This will be Crew Dragon spacecraft On the program's 12th flight with astronauts, the Falcon 9 first stage booster will return to land at Landing Zone 1 at Cape Canaveral Space Force Station. Astronauts Jasmine Magbeli, ESA's astronaut Andrea Satoshi Furakama, and Roscoe Cosmos cosmonaut Konstantin Borisov will launch on the Crew Dragon spacecraft named Endurance to begin a 6-month expedition on the International Space Station. The Crew Dragon will return splashdown at sea. There will be a launch August 25th, 26th. This will be from Launch Pad 1 at Takashima Space Center in Japan. The Japanese H-2A rocket, designated H-2A F-47, will launch an X-ray imaging spectroscopy mission, or XRISM, a joint project between Japan Aerospace Exploration Agency and NASA. The XRISM is a replacement for the Hitomi X-ray Astrophysics Observatory, which failed about 1 month after launch in 2016. It will perform high-resolution X-ray spectroscopic observations of hot gas plasma, wind that blows through the galaxies in the universe. These observations will enable us to determine flows of mass and energy, revealing composition and evolution of celestial objects. JAXA's Smart Lander for Investigating the Moon, or SLIM, mission will fly as a ride share on this launch, heading to the moon to a test precision landing technology. The H-2A rocket will fly in the 202 configuration with 2 strap-on solid rocket boosters. Let's see here. I'm just going to give one more here as usual. I've got too many here. There'll be to be determined. Since the rest of these are to be determined, we don't have any dates yet. There'll be the O3B launch of the mPOWER 5 and 6. This will be from SLC-40 at Cape Canaveral Space Force Station in Florida. SpaceX Falcon 9 rocket will launch the 3rd pair of your O3B mPOWER broadband internet satellites into medium Earth orbit for SES of Luxembourg. The satellites built by Boeing will provide internet services over most of the populated world, building on SES-03B network. Falcon 9's first stage booster will land on a drone ship in the Atlantic Ocean. All right, so there you have it. I'm not going to go any further on that. I do have Brenda's presentation for this evening, so give me a second here to bring it up so that I can read it. Space Daily, and I'm going to put this over here where I can see it. Put this on this side so you can see the picture. So here we go. This is what Brenda brought us for tonight. It's called, in Science Daily, Webb reveals colors of Earendel, the most distant star ever detected. And this is from August 9th. It says NASA's James Webb Space Telescope has followed up on observations of the Hubble Space Telescope, the farthest star detected in the very distant universe within the first billion years after the Big Bang. Webb's NIRCam, or near-infrared camera, instrument reveals the star to be a massive B-type star more than twice as hot as our sun and about 1 million times more luminous. The star, which the research team has dubbed Earendel, is located in the Sunrise Arc galaxy and is detectable only due to the combined power of human technology and nature via an effect called gravitational lensing. Both Hubble and Webb were able to detect Earendel due to its lucky alignment behind a wrinkle in the space-time created by the massive galaxy cluster WHL 0137-08. Write that one down, folks. The galaxy cluster located between us and Earendel is so massive that it warps the fabric of space itself, which produces a magnifying effect, allowing astronomers to look through the cluster like a magnifying glass. While other features in the galaxy appear multiple times due to the gravitational lensing, Earendel only appears as a single point of light, even in Webb's high-resolution infrared imaging. Based on this, astronomers determine the object is magnified by a factor of at least 4,000, and thus is extremely small. the most distant star ever detected, observed 1 billion years after the Big Bang. The previous record holder for the most distant star was detected by Hubble and observed around 4 billion years after the Big Bang. Another research team using Webb recently identified a gravitationally lensed star they nicknamed Lyra, a red giant star observed 3 billion years after the Big Bang. Stars as massive as Earendel often have companions. Astronomers did not expect Webb to reveal any companions of Earendel since they would be so close together and indistinguishable on the sky. However, based solely on the colors of Earendel, astronomers think they see hints of cooler, redder companion stars. This light has been stretched by the expansion in the universe to wavelengths longer than Hubble's instruments can detect, and so was only detectable with Webb. Webb's NIRCam also shows other notable details in the sunrise arc, which is the most highly magnified galaxy yet detected in the universe's first billion years. Features include both young star-forming regions and older established star clusters as small as 10 light-years across. On either side of the wrinkle of maximum magnification, which runs right through Earendel, these features are mirrored by the distortion of the gravitational lens. The region forming stars appears elongated and is estimated to be less than 5 million years old. The smaller dots on either side of Earendel are two images of one older, more established star cluster estimated to be 10 million years old. Astronomers determined this star cluster is gravitationally bound and likely to persist until the present day. This shows us how the globular clusters in our own Milky Way may have looked when they formed 13 billion years ago. Astronomers are currently analyzing data from Webb's near-infrared spectrograph instrument observations of the sunrise arc galaxy in Earendel, which will provide precise composition and distance measurements for the galaxy. Since Hubble's discovery of Earendel, Webb has detected other very distant stars using this technique, though not quite as far as Earendel. The discoveries have opened a new realm of the universe into stellar physics and a new subject matter to scientists studying the early universe, where once galaxies were the smallest detectable cosmic objects. The research team has cautious hope that this could be a step toward the eventual detection of one of the very first generation of stars composed only of the raw ingredients the universe created in the Big Bang, hydrogen and helium. And I want to thank Brenda, WB50ZL, for providing that article for this evening. Hopefully we'll have her back on the air next week. I know it's been a month and we really need to work on that, so I'm going to help her out tomorrow. Hope for the best. And this is KE5ICX Net Control for tonight's Skynet. I'll take another round of check-ins if you'd like to join us this evening. This probably will be my final call. I'll have one more segment. It's going to be very short, and then we're going to close it out. If you'd like to join us this evening, please come now with your call sign phonetically, your name, where you're transmitting from.
Kilo India 5, Romeo Tango Mike, John from Grapevine.
TM, he's over in Grapevine. All right, I'm not going to give you a whole bunch of satellite passes. I am just going to give you the ISS. There are two good passes coming up. We have on August 20th, so it's a little ways off, but the August 20th one is a minus 3.8 magnitude at 6:16 a.m. It'll reach its highest point almost directly overhead at 6:20 at 83 degrees in the northwest, and it'll fall to the northeast at 6:23. Following evening, August 21st, minus 3.1 magnitude at 5:31 out of the south. It'll reach its highest point at 47 degrees at 5:32, and it'll fall to the east-northeast at 5:35. You can get all the information on satellite passes, including even some of our amateur radio satellites, by going to heavensabove.com and then putting in your longitude and latitude. There's different ways of doing that, or you can log in, get an account, and always have the correct information for your location. So let's go ahead. I've got 4 minutes left. Does anyone have any questions they want to ask the net this evening? Or if you would like to check in one final time, you can. Please come to your call now. All right. Well, I know who that is. I bet he was very weak into the repeater AG9SG. That's Antonio. I have you checked in. That's about all I'm going to get out of you. This is the weakest signal I think I've ever gotten from you, so you must be mobile or something. But I do have you checked in, another one of our regulars. Anyone else have any comments? Please come to your call. All right, tonight we had 29 hams participating on the air, and thanks to all who checked in this evening. We hope you join us here next week and every Saturday night at 9 p.m. to discuss astronomy, space, and space exploration, because on this net, the sky is never the limit. We're always looking for net control stations for this and all the other DARC nets. If you'd like to try your hand at this, contact any of the net controls by sending an email to nets@w5sc.org. You can follow topics and discussions of this net, astronomy in general, on Facebook and Twitter, as well as our audio and video feeds, video archives, and other useful Internet resources by going to the club website, w5sc.org, at the conclusion of this net. Until next Saturday night, this is Kilo Echo 5, India Charlie X-Ray, Tom, and I'll be closing the net at 22:28 local time and returning the repeater to briefly normal amateur use. 7-3, everybody, and enjoy the evening discovering the universe.
Normal state.
So this is what we're going to be doing. We're going to go ahead and take a break for about 5 minutes, and I'm going to see what we can do about maybe getting an alternate net control, although I see Cruz has said he will he says he'll read some of the Skynet sections. Cruz, I'll take you up on that in the future. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. Okay, we'll be back in about 5 minutes. 5 minutes to do the Afterglow Movie Net. Tonight's movie is the 1953 Extravaganza Spaceways. We'll be back then. This is KE5 ICX. That's clear for now.
I'm completely operational and all my circuits are functioning perfectly.
Afterglow Movie Net.
All right, everybody's had their 5-minute break, so now it's time to get started with the last net of the evening. And tonight, I'm really like the guy who was on before because I think I am. Except I'm losing my voice, so be prepared. Saturday night, we discussed a movie that's been assigned during the week. In fact, I try and assign them on Sunday. Sometimes I'm a little late. You can always find the information if you go to the Facebook page, which is Afterglow Movie. That's 2 words, Afterglow and Movie. Sign up there, and you can look under the guide. I used to have a document that I posted there, but it doesn't do that anymore, so I created a guide. You go in there and you'll find out what the movie is. Also, it's posted on the top of the page for the movie for this week, but you'll get movie selections all the way. Right now, it's about a month and a half into the future. However, we may just do something different next week because somebody says 2001 is streaming for free. So I'm going to look into that. If that's the case, maybe we'll watch a good movie next week, one that we all like and can discuss. Well, maybe not everybody. But that's not the case this week. Tonight's movie is called Spaceways from 1953. It's a British science fiction film that's actually a murder mystery in disguise with space helmets, and that's about as far as it gets, and it's not even a good murder mystery. But let me go ahead and read the plot to you, and then we'll go ahead and get started and discuss our film, and I'll tell you the rules then. Engineer Dr. Stephen Mitchell is part of the British space programming that are planning to launch a satellite that will permanently orbit around the Earth. At a cocktail party with him and his colleagues, it is announced the project has been approved by the Defense Council, but his wife Vanessa is not enthusiastic about the project nor living at the high-security base. She doesn't like it. She sneaks away with Dr. Philip Crenshaw. Anybody with the name Crenshaw you can figure is probably bad, who she is having an affair with, while Stephen leaves with Lisa Frank, a mathematician on the project, who is in love with him. When Stephen returns home, he has an argument with Vanessa, with Stephen secretly aware of her kissing Crenshaw. Meanwhile, the rocket soon launches, but does not reach maximum height. We soon discover that Crenshaw and Vanessa have disappeared. Soon after, Dr. Smith, you know you can't trust anybody named Dr. Smith. And we even had a Dr. Smith, what was it, last week or the week before last? Oh, well. Oh, Moonbase 3. That's who it was, the Dr. Smith there. Dr. Smith secretly investigates around the base, coming to the conclusion that not only were the 2 murdered by Mitchell, but they were hidden in the fuel tanks of the rocket to cover his tracks. Smith approaches Mitchell with the accusation while telling him about Crenshaw, who concealed having a degree from Germany, being a spy. Mitchell comes up with an idea to go to the second rocket into space to try and prove his innocence. Smith discovers that there's a new member on the team prior to the disappearance and that a guard had died in an accident a week earlier. Soon after, Crenshaw and Vanessa are discovered by Smith and the police at a seaside cottage, with the former planning to go east instead of America. However, she's killed in a scuffle between Crenshaw and Smith. Okay, everybody, how'd they get off the base? Somebody needs to tell me that. Maybe that's the dead guard, I don't know. After the launch, Mitchell is surprised to see that Lisa is aboard the ship, having convinced Toby to let her be on the ship itself instead of him. Toby's a big wuss. Despite it being revealed that the bodies are not on the ship, Mitchell and Frank try to disconnect the middle section of the ship, which results in an explosion, making the rocket go out of control. However, Steve releases the fail-safe handle, saving them from destruction. The end. Or as we all said at the end of the film when we watched it, some of us watched it together last night, the end. What a jip. Okay, here we go. This is the name of the game. You'd see the usual people check in, but who knows? We will take check-ins, and then we will go through the movie and discuss the plot, followed by, in the next round, the acting and the characters, and followed by a third round, which includes everything else, which are, in this case, lack of special effects, lighting, music. Boy, did it have the music. Anything else you want to bring up, including things you may have missed on the first two rounds. So let's go ahead and get started. I will ask you to check in with your call sign, your name, and did you see the movie? You do not have to have seen the movie to check in. In fact, if you've not, we will ask you after our synopses whether you want to see this gem. So that's optional. So please come with your call sign, your name, and did you see Space Rays from 1953? Please come out.
November Tango 5, Tango Mike. Tony in Dallas. Oh no, I did not watch this.
Man, this is pretty weak. I've got Tony, who's denying all culpability. NT5TM, he has not seen the movie. Anyone else care to check in? Please come now.
November Victor 5, Foxtrot, Virginia in Fort Worth. I did see this movie.
Kilo Bravo 9, Sierra Oscar Kilo, Sean in Fort Worth. Yes, I did see this.
Kilo India 5, Kilo Whiskey Golf, Cruise. Yes, I saw it, and I'm confused because my place used to always come after J, and we've lost J, so I don't know when to check in anymore.
Yeah, I know. I wonder what's up with him. He did check in tonight. I did hear him check in on TechNet and I think Skynet as well. Yeah, he was in on Skynet. I wonder what's up with him. Well, I hope he comes back. Some people disappear and then they come back. So I got NV5F, Virginia in Fort Worth. Yep, she saw the movie. KB9SOK, Sean in Fort Worth. Yep, he saw the movie. And Cruz, KI5KWG, he did see the movie. Anyone else want to check in? Please come now. I think Brenda was having some trouble with audio with the, but she hasn't said anything. I'm going to put her in the list anyway because she generally has something to say. Although it says active 13 minutes ago. Brenda, are you still awake out there? Well, yes, she is. Okay, so I'm going to WB 5OZL with her comments in chat. Anyone else want to check in? Please come now. All right, it's a small but intelligent crowd, even though they watch this film. I won't hold that against them because, well, was recommended by Brenda, and everybody knows Brenda makes good choices. So we will start, well, I'm going to skip Tony for now because I'll ask him if he wants to see this movie. I know the answer would be no. But here we go. Virginia, NV5F, you get the first dibs opportunity to discuss this movie, the plot for Spaceways from 1953. Please go ahead. What did you think of the plot from KE5ICS?
Oh, I so did not want to be first. Well, I will tell you, I'll be kind of brief this evening because while I'm listening, I am prepping a room to be painted tomorrow, and I've got quite a bit to get done before I go to bed. So I'll try to be really succinct. The plot was pretty much, I guess, a plot about people cheating on each other and that causing there to be, I guess, a thought that there could be motive in a murder, and somehow it was mistaken that there was a murder, and there was a rocket. I guess the British sensibility, plus we just, we didn't have space programs at that point. It was early 50s, so the plot was very dialogue and, relationship driven. There wasn't much about the space part that really was interesting. They just talked about orbital mechanics, and they had it all wrong, which is hilarious. The switching places thing where the girl, I don't know, it's like they think Vanessa's dead, and so immediately she feels like she has the right to just, swoop in on Steve, and that basically implies that, they were kind of had their own sort of thing going, so it was basically a couple cheating on each other, and not really my favorite plot, but and I don't really want that in a supposedly science fiction movie. So I thought it was a kind of a terrible attempt at adding space into a plot that could have been, any plot for anything without space. Let's see. Trying to think of, it was, and then there was kind of convoluted stuff with the stuff at the end. Like you said, how did they get off the base? And I honestly my attention wandered from this one. It was just a bunch of people talking and, dressing up, and I think my favorite sort of funny thought I had was, I wondered how many NASA parties were like that with, diamonds and furs and cocktails and cigars. So anyway, I guess they tried for a happy ending. It was a typical thing of the time where they would, bring everything to a head all at once, and then immediately it would be over, and it was like the end, and there's like no real anticlimax or resolution or anything. So yeah, I thought it wasn't that great, and I'm definitely talking a lot more than I thought I was going to talk, and maybe people who paid more attention can give me some good, humorous, interesting insights that will keep me awake while I'm sticking masking tape to the baseboards. KE5ICX and the net in V5F.
All right, thank you, Virginia. Well, to be honest with you, you probably had more to say about this movie than anybody else will, so don't worry about it. As it turns out, and you weren't the only one where you were wondering, the dialogue went on and 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 on, and really nothing ever came of it. Soap opera hell, as was mentioned by somebody. Okay, well, let's go to Sean, KV9, SOK. Sean, what did you think about the plot for our fine film, Spaceways? not to be confused with space-leaf sprockets, which you wouldn't, but try anyway. So go ahead, Sean. What do you got to say?
Yeah, this is KB9S. Okay. Well, I think Virginia had it right when she said that prepping to paint is more interesting than this movie. So that's pretty much it. Yeah, no, this was pretty dull. I think everybody's already perfectly described it. It's basically a soap opera, clue mystery kind of plot that wasn't very well really thought out in any technical way. You know, it's you already brought it up. How did they get out the base? Well, supposedly the guard, you know, that quit was the one that let them out, snuck them out apparently, so they could sell the secrets. So I guess that was their big plot. But I'm thinking something this top secret, this you know, something that important, you'd have more than just a couple guards guarding this base. So I'd have to think it would have been noticed. You know, and even the part where they decided to accuse him of killing our main scientist, killing the two, his wife and the other scientist, and stuffing them in the fuel tank in an hour. So yeah, I mean, once again, this thing would be heavily guarded, heavily watched. And first of all, how do you stuff two people into a fuel tank and not cause it not to work at all? First of all, how do you get them into the fuel tank while you're fueling it? That struck me as kind of funny. It's like, he really thought that was a logical way that these people disappeared. You know, he never really considered that they really could have just left the base. And that was about it for any kind of interesting part of this movie. And that wasn't interesting. That was just some serious plot holes. You know, and probably the other big one there at the end was, you know, he could magically turn a valve and fully control the ship and head it back towards Earth and not crash it and not have any issues, even though they lost all other controls. So yeah, this just was not thought out well. I think they threw the space thing in there just to try to get people into theaters. You know, so yeah. And unfortunately, I wish I had something witty for this movie, but it was just kind of that dull. In fact, our Mystery Science Theater 3000 friends didn't even make fun of this movie, so even they couldn't come up with anything funny about this. Unfortunately, that's about all I got. Back to that, KB9, that's okay.
Okey-doke. Well, very good. You still came up with more than I think I'm going to come up with for this film. So between you and Virginia, you've managed to fill about 20 minutes on a film that doesn't deserve 20 minutes of recognition. But that's just me. Okay, next up is Cruise, KI5KW from KE5ICX.
KI5KWG. I didn't hate this. It was slow. It was a soap opera set on a rocket base. The science was so very, very wrong. But I didn't hate it. I was hoping when it started, my hopes were up a little high. I thought we might get some cool special effects. We got a V2 rocket. We got some sounding rocket. I didn't have a chance to look up. I was going to try to find out what that was. I think that was during the opening credits. So I thought that was kind of cool. And we had some video, which I think was from White Sands, and a V2 bumper flight. That was a V2 is your booster and a second stage of a WAC Corporal, which they made a reference to. I think they called it a two-stage rocket. We called them bumpers. And the second flight was in 1949, and they mentioned it because it set records. How high did it go? 250 miles. I wrote it down. I'm looking. I don't see it. But it went like 250 miles, and it went 5,000 miles an hour. Yeah, there it is. 250 miles up, 5,000 miles per hour was its top speed. And that was 5,000 miles was their top speed, too, in this film. Let me lift this microphone key for a moment. So I thought it was kind of neat that they included that historical reference, which was probably still the record at that time. Mentioned the dialogue. I didn't much mind that dialogue. I rarely mind dialogue being used to tell a story. Sometimes that's a good way to get a lot of information out really fast. And at least they changed the theme. They changed the set often. Sean, good job. I totally missed that part about why that guard quit, and that was such a big deal. And never caught that. So last night we were chatting about how many guards did they need at the sentry post, and if there's time, and if anybody's not still asleep, I've got a fun story related to that from that era, basically from the 60s anyway. So, but that's what I've got on plot KI5 KWG. Back to net.
Very good. Thank you, Cruz. And you still, all three of you had more information than I could possibly provide. So let me go to Brenda and her comment. She's kind of all over the place here, typing away. Check me in. I saw it. I hated it. The plot was a soap opera. They lured us in with space and did a bait and switch. The music was awful. Characters are mostly unsympathetic, and they weren't believable scientists or astronauts. This in no way resembles an actual space program. And then she says, over, indicating she's finished with her rant. Okay, fine. So I'll make, let me ask. Anyone else want to check in before I give my comments? Please come with your call, your name, and did you see this fine film, Spaceways from 1953? All right, I hear none. I think this may be a quick one this evening. We'll see. But my comments. So when does this take place? Is this supposed to be contemporary time? Is this supposed to be 1953, or is this the future? And we see these rockets lift off, and they're not very big. They're, V2s with, limited capacity. And then when we jump to the manned missions, we suddenly have this gigantic rocket that's bigger on the inside than it is on the outside. I mean, you look and you see the fins on the ground, which they went to great lengths to show us, and you go, oh, okay, fine. And it's there, and then they get inside the rocket, and it's huge. They got plenty of room. They could put, it's like a 3-bedroom house, maybe a 4-bedroom. Well, it's got ladders going up and down and around and everything. So they got, with only 2 people on board. What were they planning on doing? I don't understand. So how does this technology end up I guess our audience is too stupid to realize that giant rockets and little tiny rockets and medium-sized rockets are all different sizes, and that how can you make all that happen so well? I don't know. There was lots and lots and lots and lots and lots of talking, none of it very interesting with our characters, and was it Vanessa? I wanted to see her dead too. She was very irritating towards the end. Just shut up already, go find your boyfriend and find a gas tank and go whatever it is you do. So there's all of that. I don't know. It just seemed kind of Let's see what else. The characters themselves very British, except for the American who was less British. They were all kind of like, whatever. They had just sitting around and drinking. I guess if you're going to be on a base, you should have, everybody should dress up. So you're on this base and you can't go anywhere, but you dress up for dinner really nicely to have the cocktail parties and all of that. I guess, I don't know, maybe then you did that sort of thing. But if you're on a base and you can't go anywhere or do anything, it seems to me that would be something you would have to deal with anyway. And then the fact they are on the base and everybody sees each other and all of that, that the affairs going on should be pretty obvious to everybody. Everybody knows what's going on and something like that. It'd be very difficult to somehow hide it, if you know what I mean. So, I don't know. Let's see. I guess some of this could fall into special effects or lack of special effects, but I think that the dynamics of it, since they didn't have any money for special effects, that just showing little dots on a screen, which I'm kind of jumping, I mean, others saw this too last night when we watched it sort of together, but, you know, what happens to your dramatic license? You have no effects, you have some dots on the screen. Wow, it's making a turn, and it makes a turn. Oh boy, that's exciting. What a great way to go. I don't know, just sort of very weirdly terrible. So there you got it. There you have it. That's kind of my thoughts on that one. Okay, well, let's see here. Boy, I don't think we're going to make it to midnight tonight. I really do not. We're only at 11 o'clock. I'm running out of things to talk about. Okay, let's go to Tony, NT5TM. Tony's listening. He's going to run back to the radio. He's going to put his delicious drink down. He's going to tell us, Tony, you didn't watch it. Why? And then would you watch it now that we've given you this highly positive look at the future?
Oh, I wish I'd pressed the push-to-talk key before I had that evil laugh just there. You deserve to hear that. You put in the hard work. No, I technically did watch 5 or 6 minutes of this movie, and it was just so uninteresting and unappealing and so cheap-looking that I thought, you know, a year ago today, our younger bird was hatched, August 12th, 2022. So instead, I turned off the computer and got the bird out and began playing. Well, I turned off the movie and began playing with him and giving him treats and things, because he should have a happy hatching day. And it was honestly a lot more rewarding to play with a pet than it was to watch this movie, judging by the sound of it. NT5TM.
Aw, how sad. The two of you, the first thoughts and sounds would have been this fine movie, and the two of you together watching the film. What a great way that would have. You could have spent the little birdie's first few minutes of life watching Space Waves from 1953. But if that's what you insist and what you think, that's perfectly fine. You missed out on something. Okay, so let's go ahead and go down the list. We'll discuss the acting and the characters. So Virginia, NV5F, you are up. What do you think about the characterizations in our fine film for this evening?
Well, to me the key to characters is that you should like them, and there was some potential at the beginning, you know. I think the British sensibility about characters and how they're portrayed and presented is different, but I found there are many likable characters in British shows and movies, but I don't know, it's hard to like a bunch of people that are cheating on each other or trying to get, you know, what's-her-face, Lisa's trying to get Steve, and, you know, he's married to somebody else, and Vanessa's interested in some other guy because she doesn't like being stuck on the base. So, I don't know, I have a hard time with movies where people are just being what I consider highly immoral. I have a hard time liking them. The, you know, space part wasn't very space, and so there wasn't any opportunities really for there to be some cool space scenes where you could see characters that have some, you know, passion about space. I guess Steve had more passion about it than anybody. But yeah, characters were, you know, they were just like soap opera characters and kind of one-dimensional and not very interesting, and didn't really keep my attention as far as being memorable or anything. I mean, Vanessa was angry and annoying, and Steve was you know, Lisa was kind of cloying and you know, kind of simpery and fawning over Steve, and you know, Steve was that hard-nosed, work ethic guy, and everybody's kind of a stereotype, I guess. There's like detective or spy or whatever that guy was, and everybody else just kind of blended together. So not really excited about the characters in this, and I'm also not excited about the spackling I'm about to do while I try to stay awake. K5ICX in V5F.
All right, thank you, Virginia. Go ahead and spackle. We'll call you over if we need you to break a tie as to like which movie is the best movie we've ever seen this week. Okay, next up is Sean. By the way, I'm looking at the poster for Spaceways, and I noticed now it has a picture of a space station that never appeared in the movie. It tells you volumes about what's going on, misrepresenting what we're going to see. Okay, Sean, KB9SOK. Sean, your comments on characterization and acting, please, from KE5ICX.
Yeah, this is KB9SOK. Characters, yeah. I think Virginia Brewer covered it. Yeah, I wasn't a big fan of these characters either. You know, just yeah, really just a soap opera. Who Sleeps With You? That's really what it boiled down to. You know, the only person that didn't seem to want to be there was Steve, and I guess he was the closest to the most moral person in this film. He didn't seem to really want to get to space, and that did come across. So I guess he was the strongest character. You know, and I really didn't, you know, the scene there after the party didn't make a lot of sense. You know, he sees his wife cheating on him with another scientist, and then when he goes back to the room, there's no discussion of it. He just tells her to go to bed. Which seems like okay, you know, obviously he wasn't happy. He said later he wasn't in love with her anymore, so, you know, she wanted to leave so bad, why didn't she just leave? You know, why didn't they, you know, why didn't they just get divorced? You know, the whole thing, you know, why did it have to be so dramatic? You know, and sneak out and all this and that. I mean, obviously neither one of them were happy, so I don't know. I guess they just need that love triangle, I guess. And, you know, it just was just kind of dull. The director wasn't very interesting. You know, we didn't meet the guard until later. He wasn't very interesting. You know, I think it was Lisa, the one that wanted Steve. You know, she was just like gaga over him and didn't really, you know, I don't know why. Suppose she's in love with him before they ever dated, so I guess like a squirrel kind of crush. Yeah, it really was just like you're watching a soap opera, which is why I don't watch soap operas. So, yeah, I didn't find it. Most of the dialogue wasn't very interesting. You know, and Cruz, thanks for looking up those facts. I do remember watching the movie wondering if that was true about some of the stuff they did bring up, and just kind of totally forgot about it after being so bored with the movie. But, yeah, it's at least interesting that at least there's a couple true facts in it. So thanks for that. Yeah, no, I mean, I guess the acting was, you know, wasn't horrible, wasn't great. I guess they just worked with what they had to work with. Were the British even in the space race? Did they even try to beat us up there? 'Cause, you know, they did mention wanting to be the first up there in space. I don't remember hearing much news about that. Of course, I wasn't born yet in the 50s, so I'm not real sure. But anyway, yeah, I'm just rambling now. See, I'm back to that. KB9S, okay.
Problems with characters that I don't care about. Okay, next up is Cruz, KI5KWG. Cruz, your thoughts on characterization. I know you've written some notes on them. Please go ahead from KE5ICX.
I have a reputation. KI5KWG. First off, happy birthday to the bird. Tony, you'll pass that on, please, and give it another treat. Second, this kind of became the overriding thing for me when I was looking up, because I recognized Eva Bartok, and I was like, I know her, I know that name, we've seen her in something, and it was the Gamma People movie. She was the heroine in that film as well, and I remember thinking, oh, she's a pretty good actress, it's just a terrible part. And here we are again. She's a pretty good actress and just a terrible script. And I thought everybody did fine. But why this became the overriding thing for me in this film is I read Eva Bartok's bio, and my word, what a tragic life that lady had. She started off awful in, was it Hungary, I think it was, and at 15, she was forced to marry. It was either a concentration camp or she was going to have to marry a Nazi officer. And like thinking, oh my word, what an awful start in adult life. And so she was a bit flighty apparently as an actress, and you kind of understand that. She learned to trade on her looks early. It saved her life. And she has talent as an actress, and she is pretty, and so, but gosh, what an awful story for her. Anyway, so that kind of overrode everything for me. But I thought the acting overall, it was typical of early television and soap operas that I remember from childhood, and it was that caliber, so I guess it was okay. I don't really have anything else for this section. So KI5, KWG, back to net.
All right, thanks, Cruz. And let's see, Brenda just typed something in for her part. She says, one good thing about most space movies is they give young people inspiration for space. This movie is a horrible example for kids. I wouldn't let them watch it. Then she says, these people were mostly repellent, boring, and stupid. No real interest in space. Over. So apparently Brenda didn't feel real positive about the characterizations in the movie so far. So what can we say? Let me see. Let me think for a second. All right, as far as characterization and that, I didn't see a lot. There wasn't much to really look at. Now, I had seen in the credits that this was done from a radio play, was the origins, but I have since found that that is not true. It actually, there is a novel. It was written in 1953, in fact. So, I don't know how they were able to get the movie out so quickly because it's so wonderful, but it's written by Charles Eric Maine, and he is given the science fiction and detective fiction English writer, but it was supposed to take place in the United States. All the stories of the FBI agent, all this stuff that takes place there. And it follows the story as we heard it. However, I guess it's more intricate because it is indeed a novel, and all the stories are linked together, the characters are linked together. But even still, the contrived ending is still the same, so I don't think there's a lot there to really write home about. Here's some, this guy did a review of the Spaceways movie. Let's see if it's there. Sensitive content. Oh, there it is. Cult movie reviews. Screenshots, the bullet head outfits. Not as good as Quartermash domes. Okay, just reading some notes here real quick since I didn't know he'd reviewed the movie. But it's more of a description of what happened. I don't know. I don't have a lot to say. I agree with Brenda on this one and everybody else. The characters are not very sympathetic. I don't really care if everybody's cheating on one another. Why do I want to aspire and really care about the characters? I kind of hope that everybody burn up in the atmosphere. That would be cool. And I was disappointed when they found the two of them at the cottage in the hideaway. I was really hoping they'd pull the bodies out of the gas tanks when they got to the spaceship. That would have sounded a lot more interesting than watching the two dots rendezvous in space. But what do I know? Well, rendezvous on that big screen of nothing. So, I don't know. What's her name had that weird haircut, that page boy haircut. I'm not sure what that was all about. What was her name? Dr. Mitch. No. Lisa. Lisa in a weird haircut. Not sure about that. But, I don't know. Everybody smoked, though. So they looked good. They were all smoking and drinking. So they had martinis and cigarettes and controls in their hands so that they could guide the rocket sort of semi-successfully into orbit. So they had all that stuff. So what else? Not really anything. Okay, well, let's move along. This is going to be a short one, I think. Let us move to special effects. We should have something to say about this one. So let's go to the top. Virginia, drop the spackling, come to the microphone, and discuss the special effects on this film. This can include the music, the rocket ship extravaganza, the white dots on the screen, anything you want to discuss. NV5F from KE5ICX.
Okay, the special effects. Well, it wasn't very spacey. They had, like, footage. It looked like just stock footage of rockets, and they had footage of film taken from a rocket, which I'm guessing is film they found somewhere. Someone mentioned was it you? You mentioned that they had footage borrowed from another movie, Rocket Ship XM, I think. There was, most of the in-space stuff. When they were in space, they finally got to space at the end, and they had this big cool-looking rocket, out on the launch pad, but then you got inside, and it looked like the inside of a really big submarine or something. It was not very space capsule-y, but they didn't have much to go on back then, but someone argued that since it's British, that all their spaceships are like a TARDIS, and it's always bigger on the inside than the outside, so maybe that's the explanation. It's pretty large, considering that you have to economize when you go to space and make everything small and compact. Yes, the giant radar screen they had, the big out-of-focus radar screen with the way they showed anything happening or had any kind of visuals. They were always talking about what was happening, but they never showed it happening in space. They couldn't even make, like, cardboard models on string, I guess, like Mystery Science Theater 3000 had better special effects than this movie. And they just had those dots, the fuzzy dots moving around. That was really a cop-out, but I thought the big radar screen was pretty awesome with the big out-of-focus spinning sweep thing. And, then they would show the dots on it, I guess, wherever they needed them to be. And they had lots of weird-looking equipment in the lab and all that, and they had the snappy montage sequence, going into the big launch, which I was real fuzzy on that whole thing. Like, I thought it sounded like they told him his mission was grounded, and then they immediately had a montage of getting ready to go to space. So maybe I just heard that part wrong. That was really confusing. And then, I don't know. In addition to the special effects, I just thought them jumping to the conclusion that there were bodies in the fuel tank, not sure how they got there, and that was kind of dumb, but, and then the end was dumb, where she replaces the other astronaut, and they take off their helmets, and he looks and it's her, and but, we all have that dream in our life of, like, looking up and the most improbable but most desirable thing that could possibly happen, like, actually were to come true. It would be the greatest moment of our lives, and I think we all kind of have our secret hope that moment is around the corner, and I think that's what Steve experienced when they took off their helmets and it was Lisa instead of Toby. So, I thought about Steve at that moment and thought that maybe his greatest, biggest dream, you know, his big secret dream was actually coming true. It was a bigger dream than going to space. So, you know, I tried to feel a little warm fuzzies for him right in there, and I'm glad it had a happy ending, because even though the movie was dreary and kind of stodgy and talky and didn't have any cool space stuff, you know, I always love a happy ending. So I'm going to try to put a little icing on that, because I'm super tired, and I think I'm going to just hope that the people who come help me paint tomorrow don't mind that the room isn't 100% prepped, and they're going to have to help me finish prepping in the morning, because I'm out of gas. So anyway, that's it for me, I think, unless you have any questions about my rant that I just did, which I'm happy to answer. I'm looking forward to what everybody else has to say about anything they want on this movie, NV5F.
All right, thank you, Virginia. And yeah, I understand, and you've been working hard this evening getting stuff done. So yeah, have people help you tomorrow. Just tell them that you ran out of time, you were working very, very hard, and you were fatigued and all of that. That'll work out fine. Let's see, Sean, KB9SOK. Sean, you can talk about anything you want. Talk about special effects, something you may have missed out on the movie before, music, whatever you want. Please go ahead from KE5I6.
Yeah, this is KB9SOK. Yeah, not a lot there. And I started mentioning special effects weren't all that great. I guess probably the best thing they had was the used footage, the stock footage they showed, which was mentioned earlier. You know, the camera looking down as the rocket took off. That might have been the most space-like footage we got to see. You know, yeah, that was disappointing. Yeah, we had the giant radar screen, which basically, yeah, looked like a giant radar screen or an oscilloscope screen with a couple dots on it. Yeah, not very exciting, since they probably wasted at least 20 minutes staring at that. So that wasn't very good. And yeah, once again, I think Virginia's right about the British thing and the inside being bigger than the outside. It must be something they do in all British movies, apparently. Because yeah, the inside of the rocket was insanely big. And I like the 200 gauges that they had on the analog gauges they had on the dash, which is a ship that was originally not meant to have humans in it, but now it's got all these hand gauges. And then my favorite was the shifter that they had. You know, when they released the rocket, kicked the other rocket in, had a nice look like car shifter in there. It reminded me of that. I don't remember the name of the show, but the show where we watched where the guy built the rocket in the junkyard, and they went up on the moon and stole the lander. Brought it down. That's what it reminded me of, because that's what they used. Looked like a gear shifter. So yeah, I chuckled when that thing came on. Okay. And then too, it was kind of, you know, they were still growing up, and they hadn't released the third stage yet, and yet he said, "Oh, it's okay to take off our helmets now." It's like, that doesn't even make sense. You're still traveling. Why would you think it'd be okay to take your helmet off and take your seatbelt off and just wander around while the thing's still accelerating? So that didn't make a whole lot of sense. And I'm very curious what, Tom, you have to say about the spacesuits, because we know you always got to you know, point out the things with spacesuits. And they were quite interesting looking. So, I guess we've actually probably seen worse. Yeah, the music wasn't all that great. You know, at the end of the day, yeah, this wasn't the worst movie we ever seen by far. But it also was not in the good category either. So it is what it is. And once again, you said talk about anything, so I'm going to throw this out there. Tony, if you're still around, I'm curious, do birds like to watch TV? You know, I'm just curious. I had a chinchilla that used to like to watch TV. My current chinchilla doesn't, but I'm just curious. Never had birds. Anyway, looking forward to the next one. Back to deck, KB9SOK.
All right, thank you, Sean. I don't know if they could actually, you know, put any sort of a positive spin on this one. It was pretty pedestrian. Okay, Cruz, KI5KWG, Cruz, your comments on whatever you want. If you want to talk special effects, you can. Music, that you can. Something you missed the first 2 times around, whatever you want. Go ahead from KE5ITX.
KI5KWG, I can't believe nobody mentioned wardrobe. That space suits that they had, I thought that was pretty cool. I mean, we didn't have space suits in 1953. They weren't thinking space suits in 1953 that I can come up with any good reason for. I guess you had high-altitude test pilot suits, but these were pretty cool looking. And you've got to admit, the ascots were just very, very well done. Those were so accurate. I was impressed by the ascots. We all were impressed by the ascots. Okay, I'm going to tell my story. This is my dad's story, and I can't tell it as well as he did. But he was IBM guy in the 60s. Well, until he retired, as a matter of fact. But in the 60s, and he was going out to the bomber plant, LTV, General Dynamics, stuff like that. So he was really going to all the big aerospace companies. He had a IBMer from Germany around, and they were going out, I think it was to the LTV out there at Carswell at the time. And so you've got, you know, a SAC base you're going on, and they had those guards. I went through some of this in my career too, is going through the Marine guards and having your papers checked and searches and things like that on some bases that don't actually exist, that at least the government doesn't admit. So this was kind of like that. And but my dad, and he has this German sitting in his 64.5 Mustang next to him. He was a little bit nervous, and he's going through his briefcase, getting his passport and his papers and all. Well, my dad's there almost every day. They know him. They recognize his car. They recognize his face. They know him by name. He knows them by name. So while the guy's looking down in his briefcase, the German, they wave my dad around the line of cars that they're going through. So my dad turns the wheel and hits the throttle and peels out and runs through the gate. The German, he looks over at the German, and the German's not sitting in the front seat anymore. He's down on the floorboard. He thought they were going to get shot. My dad said, "Are you all right? What are you doing down there?" So anyway, I love that story. But yeah, security is actually that tight. It's even tighter. I've had dogs sniffing and people, Marines, crawling under my rental car with on one of those wheeled boards to get underneath it and search everything with a flashlight and a mirror. So yeah, they're really careful there. But I love that my dad's story on that. Okay, I talked too long. KI5KWG, back to net.
Nah, you didn't talk too long. In fact, we're not talking long enough. We're going to end early tonight, but that's okay. And I'll tell you my story here in a minute. Let's see. Brenda has said the following. I was also confused when they said the launch was scrubbed, and then it wasn't. The model spaceship was kind of cute with those canards, but nothing about the flight was believable. It was obvious, let me get up here, it was obviously low budget, but many low budget films are nowhere this bad. Over. And she does make a good point. Actually, there were some scenes from, I think it was somebody mentioned it here too, is the rocket ship XM. I noticed it. I recognized the rocket ship from the movie. And the other one, I think, is the Werner von Braun creation with the fins and everything. Or fairly close to it. I'm trying to remember if that was used in a movie. I know it was used in the Disney productions, talking about manned space flight. It was in the Collier stuff when that was a big deal, just prior to the main flight. So, and spacesuits, now don't forget, one of the things about spacesuits, though, is that you did have some inspiration from from like Collier magazine and some of the other things. Was it Willie Lee and Charles Bonstell, I think, did a lot of that sort of thing. So there was inspiration. They may not have been made, but they were inspired by that. And I agree with you. I thought the suits were kind of coolish looking, a little bit confining and not very easy to see out of, but overall they were the most convincing part of the whole movie. Obviously, the spacecraft was just gigantic and too large for what it did. Some of the other things, the music at the beginning was just overwhelming for just an opening. They had music that was there for chase scenes and everything. In reality, they had very low profile stuff going on. Yeah, they recovered the rocket in that, but the vehicle is driving at a slow rate of speed to get there, and you're playing really fast music to indicate that the urgency of something that wasn't urgent. That, to me, is another example of, I don't know, maybe the music was tracked from somewhere else. Because the production, cost of this film, they may have just simply picked up some pre-done music that was available. So I don't know. Let's see, what else was there? I wrote something down, but I can't read it now. Doggone, I can't remember. There was something else I was going to say, and I didn't write it down. I'm getting a little tired, too. I'm not sure. Other things about the film. The Von Braun in this design. Yeah, it looks very similar. Cruz just put up a drawing of what basically looked like, not exactly, there was a couple of extra wings on there, but yeah, it's based. No, it is the same design. Never mind. That is the same one. It does look familiar because it is the same thing. In fact, I wonder where they got the model from. But in any case, and the reason I say that is I got a little model that I started building that's still out in the garage from 2 decades ago that is the same rocket that I never did finish. But it's out in the garage. Maybe I can be inspired and finish it now. So overall, kind of a mediocre movie. Never really got into the type of thing that we like, which is space stuff, more like a detective whodunit story that didn't have a whodunit. Nobody died. Nobody cared. So at any rate, looks like they just decided to do a crime drama or a whodunit with spacesuits. So it's cool spacesuits. And it just didn't quite work out. It wasn't terrible, but it wasn't very good either, so at any rate. Okay, I'm going to open it up. Anybody want to check in, or anybody have any other comments they want to bring? Since I've run out of ideas. If you got something, please come with your call now.
KI5 KWG, reminder.
Very good. Cruz, I think I know what it is, but go ahead anyway.
Right. Virginia wants, Virginia, correct me, but I believe in 2 weeks you want to do Electric Dreams. And I had pointed out that, and I don't know how long it's up, but right now on Tubi you can watch 2001: A Space Odyssey.
Yeah, thanks. I double-checked 2001, and yes, it's there. Hopefully it'll be there for the rest of the week. Yeah, I have no problems moving it up. We have done the movie in the past, but every once in a while it's kind of fun to do a really good movie and then be able to talk about it. And this group has changed over the years with different people, so yeah, I'm full for it. So we'll watch 2001: A Space Odyssey for next week, followed by Electric Dreams the following week after that, and that way then we get some variety and something decent. I'll move the other films back so that they certainly insert those. So that works for me. Yeah, we're going to end a little bit early, but I'm kind of tired. I'm really surprised. I had a couple of naps today to defeat this, but I'm still kind of weary. I guess part of it is, I went out, I pulled my hamstring, so I hadn't done any running this week, and I got out and did it today, and I think it really beat me up, the heat and everything, so I'm feeling a little tired. Okay, kids, well, we'll be back here next week, same bat time, same bat station. Our next movie, 2001: A Space Odyssey, so hope you'll be here for that, and then Electric Dreams the following week. I will put those up. They are both free. and available. Looks like the copy on Tubi looks pretty darn good, so you should be able to enjoy it. Okay, till next time, this is KE5ICX. I'm clear, and bye. I'll still be here if you still want to talk, but otherwise we're just going to close from that. See ya. KE5ICX, clear.